Hey viewers, welcome to another game of the CasualProGamer. We are once again watching Snoopeh as he is jungling for his team. Well, not for his team. He's practicing to jungle for Kiev, which is an IEM stop. Well, the next big competition basically. And he is duo queuing with... hang on... I don't know. It was the Anivia last game, but pretty sure it's not the Anivia this time. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe he's not duo queuing anymore. Didn't pay attention. He's actually busy with something else. Well, still am busy with something else. And wow, they get the first blood. Well, doesn't happen a lot anymore. Normally people are a lot more careful. They may have noticed that the enemy doesn't have clairvoyance, but I'm not even sure about that. Because I don't see it, but yeah, without clairvoyance it would be a lot more difficult to spot these kind of ganks, so the aggressive ones, the aggressive level 1 fights like this are actually really good when people don't have CV. Because as soon as someone runs into your direction, you can basically kill them without the risk of getting spotted by a well-timed CV. Obviously, if you get spotted by CV, it's normally not a problem yet. It's very defensive skill. You cannot really use it offensive, although in some cases it does work. But yeah, since you can spot the big eye in the sky, it is not really an offensive thing. Obviously, if they want to make this game more aggressive, they should make clairvoyance like it used to be, and they need to make it invisible. Then the junglers would get killed way more often. Also, it would make it a lot easier to well, to get things done in the lanes or in the team fighting phase. So basically, yeah, on the rest of the map, so not just on the jungle. Although CV is of course murder on the junglers normally, early game especially. And that's why they reduced the cooldowns, because it was just too powerful. So Anivia getting caught here by Rammus, but Rammus not really making anything out of that. It's going to just run away. And Karthus is going to pick up this red buff. Nice kiting there, not taking a whole lot of damage. And it's going into the raids next. But yeah, the kiting of red buff with Karthus is really one of the things that you need to do in order not to take too much damage. And since Karthus does most of his damage with his Q, that doesn't really, well, take any damage away from him, where normally your jungler does damage with his auto attacks. So getting a nice gank off here on the mid laner, and he is going to die, no problem. Kill going to Anivia, which is awesome, because Anivia can use the gold very, very well. And yeah, just going back to jungle. So double golems into probably a gank top lane, because top lane has been pushed quite a bit. And he is kiting the double golems just like he did with the reds. Oh, he's not going for it. He's going for some more jungle action first. It's getting really low, so probably needs to go home. And yeah, he's going to do one more camp before actually going home. And yeah, there he goes, recalling right now. So yeah, not a whole lot of things happening here. Um, there have been some kills, but yeah, well, not really exciting. Junglers are never very exciting to watch. Then again, the junglers do have a more interesting game than most of the most of the lanes, because the lanes are all about positioning, and yeah, although it is very hard to play, it is not very interesting to watch. The team fighting phase, of course, is much more interesting. So Karthus coming in here, going to attempt to slow. Oh, that was a nice wall from Anivia. Yeah, they get the slow off with the debuff on the magic resist. And are they actually going to pick up this kill? Yeah, this is going to be a kill. Come on. Landed killing blow. Ooh, getting out of there with just one tower shot. Oh, yeah. One tower shot remaining, I wanted to say. But it's not even a tower shot. The next tower shot would have killed him. And I'm pretty sure the cards did damage there. Yeah, he at least did the silence right in the end. So, ooh, getting caught here. Fortunately, it's an unassisted kill, but yeah, obviously he should have gone back. There's not a whole lot he could accomplish there. And yeah, he should have gone back to heal up. But yeah, they got a kill out of it, so guess it's good. But yeah, well, kind of don't understand why people do that. Don't understand why you wouldn't just run back behind the turrets, since Anivia is still there. And there wasn't a lot of pressure on the tower, so there was no reason to stay in. And obviously he didn't have enough map awareness to see that the bottom laners were coming top. Yeah, well, mid. Anyhow, giving the blue buff to Anivia, because even though he can use the blue buff to great extent, he does have mana regen in his skills, and I think it's the E. Pretty sure it's the E that gives you back mana with its skill, as long as it's turned off. And yeah, they're going for enemy blue now, just to give him some mana regen as well. Oh, and they catch Warwick. Warwick is going to die here, 3 versus 1. It's not a fair fight. And they don't like fair fights anyway, so Gangplank still went in. But yeah, since they are retreating, so is Gangplank now. And eventually they get out okay. So getting the red buff, not getting the blue buff from the enemy. They might go for that in a little bit. But yeah, when they healed up then. It might also just be that one of the enemies now just got their blue buff, just to make sure that Karthus doesn't steal it. Not sure. Yeah, there you go. Rammus with the blue buff. And since he didn't kill Anivia with the other blue buff, it means that he did take it, just to make sure that the enemy could not. Obviously Rammus with the blue buff is suboptimal. It's not the best champion to have that. Although it is reasonably useful, it is not really useful enough. And yeah, just going to continue with his jungle. Obviously, you need to keep on jungling to get more and more golds over the course of the game. You cannot keep ganking 24/7 because that just doesn't work. You need to get the golds and the items in order to make your ganks actually successful. And that's exactly what he's doing here. So doing some damage to Warwick, although that is kind of futile. Warwick is not really scared of the little bit of damage that Karthus does at this point. And Karthus just going on to double golems once Gangplank gets back in lane. So no experience was lost in top lane, and yeah, Gangplank did have more mana just now, but yeah, I guess that really doesn't make too much of a difference. It's not like Warwick is really low health. If Karthus could have accomplished that, that would have been great for Gangplank. But now he still has to be, well, reasonably careful in order to not lose his lane. And yeah, well, going back to jungle once more. Tried to gank top lane, but didn't actually work out because Warwick was too careful. And it's going to just last hit with his Qs. You have to be really careful because they do AoE damage, obviously. But if you're good with them, you can actually just last hit with them. Yeah, these last few hits don't really matter. He doesn't want to have the lane push all the way into the turrets, and is not going to wait for Anivia. He's just going to push this lane. Maybe the mid is just... yeah, I think enemy mid went home, and he just wanted to make sure that the enemy lost as many minions as possible. But yeah, there's Cassidy once again. He apparently didn't go home. Ooh, that is a lot of damage on... wow, come on, get him. There we go. On Alistar. Alistar did pop his ultimate, but the true damage... yeah, although it's reduced, it still does quite a lot of damage. And obviously, so does Anivia. Anivia, great champion for nuking down enemies, as well as for sustained damage, because her ultimate has sustained damage, but it's mainly her the ice shard. I think that's her E that actually does most of the damage. Of course, the Q, being a skill shot stun, is really her most valuable weapon, because if you can land that, you can land all of the other things as well. And if you miss it, yeah, well, there's always the next one in like 7 seconds or so. At least that's most of the times the cooldown on a stun. Something like 7 to 12 seconds. Most of the stuns don't really have a 30-second cooldown. Anyhow, the Karthus is just picking up all the minions he can possibly find, and yeah, Anivia putting down a wall there, but blocking only her own teammates, and is going to get the kill on what's his face, Warwick, with some assistance from Gangplank, obviously, but nicely done. And we are now in the well, kind of the mid of the game. There's no more laning going on. People are all out of the lane and are trying to just gank other lanes, trying to farm up whole minion waves, and yeah, the distribute No, distribution. Yeah, that's the one. The distribution of the buffs would actually be more important now than in the early game, because in the early game it's useful for Anivia to have blue, but now it's actually necessary for her to have it, because if a team fight breaks out and she doesn't have blue, she's going to either run out of mana or she's not going to have enough cooldown reduction. And all in all, the blue buff on Anivia is really a necessity by now, and the red buff on the AD carry would also be highly preferred. So a nice stun going off, but it's not going to be enough to prevent her from going down. Wow, Karthus coming in just in time apparently. And Kassadin, yeah, getting the hit off on oh wow, getting the hit off on the bird. Come on, Anivia. But it's going to be egg form, and egg form resulted in a kill for the bottom lane, because they were coming up and they could catch the Kassadin off guard. Better way to spend that. He should have realized that the egg was up, and he should have gone over to the blue and escaped through there. But yeah, he didn't. And they got a kill out of that. Well, and a dragon. So once again, immediately noting in the chat the time where when dragon died. It is a big deal to know that, and yeah, it is of course really important for the high level players, but also for lower level players who want to up their game. Well, the things you really need to do is keep track of the buffs. You don't have to give them all to the correct person. That doesn't really matter in low ELO. As long as you get them, because they give you a big advantage. You have to keep track of dragon and get that. And of course the most important thing is ward. Assuming that you already know that you should farm. Because I just brought out a video on how to win in low ELO, and really the only thing you need to do is pick a character that can actually wipe out the whole team as well as the turret. So pick an AD carry, which can either be well, for the cheap ones I would recommend Sivir. Ashe would be good, but if you're going for an expensive one, I would definitely recommend Vayne. Because if you can get her to a nice level of farm, so if you can get a lot of gold on her, get some nice items, she is unbeatable. She can wipe out the whole team without dying, and yeah, that's exactly what you need. You need to play more of a solo style, because, well, you cannot really count on your teammates to be good at what they do. So try to steal as many minions as you can if you know that you are better than your laning partner. Also, don't go for support characters if you know that you're better than your laning partners. Or if you want to win, basically, if you want to have influence on that. And yes, sure, every now and then you will lose because you weren't in the team fight early game, but it is well worth it, because the amount of games you will win by just farming, just ignoring the whole game and just farming, harassing the opponent whenever you can, obviously, but yeah, it is such a big advantage you're going to get. So yeah, well, just take an AD carry and go play some games, and you will see that if you just focus on that and ignore the team fights early on until you have some nice items, until you can see that you're like 50% ahead in minions. Well, let's say until you're like 60 minions ahead or something like that. It's you can easily be ahead by loads of minions. In the silver game I showed, I was at 216 with 200 and something minions. I don't remember the exact number, but I was over 200 and my opponents barely got over 100. So then you know that you're going to win. As long as you play it safe. You always need to play it safe until you know what your champion can actually do. Because, well, these are the high elo games, and even here it is so important to farm, and you can see that. I mean, he hasn't stopped killing minions for even a moment. He hasn't stood in brushes trying to wait for the enemy to come up. No, he's just going where the minions are, and if he meets an enemy, then that's okay. I mean, he's going to either engage or disengage depending on who it is and how farmed he is, how much the enemy has as items and such. But yeah, well, it's very basic. I mean, he's now getting some extra AP, which means that he's not going to get more tankiness. And yeah, you can see the whole enemy team grouping up here, and they're going to get 2 kills, which yeah is not really good, but it's also not too bad, because well, as long as you keep farming and there are no turrets going down, you should be okay. I mean, yeah, sure, they got 2 kills there, but it's not the end of the world. There is no need for Karthus in this case to just run in there like a madman and try to interfere in that. Of course, because this is high elo, they are going to go into Baron immediately after going for 2 kills, after getting 2 kills. And yeah, Karthus drops here and is going to ult, but it's not going to do anything. And now the enemy team is going to do Baron once again. Although hopefully for them, they can now pick off some people because they are really low. And oh, that was really bad engage on the part of Vayne. That was so sad. He could have guided them a little bit, and yeah, or she could have guided them a little bit, and just gone for hit after hit instead of going what they called full retards, and that's, I think, the proper name for it by now. Because you don't want to do exactly that. You don't want to go in like a madman and try to kill the enemy outright. No, you want to be a little more subtle about it. Make sure that you split up the enemy team and not run in 1v4. So yeah, that was the whole team, I think, that died. So they got 5 kills, as they said. Or the whole team. Don't know if I said enemy team, but anyway, the whole purple team died because Gangplank got caught, and instead of just backing off, they all went in to prevent them from doing Baron, and that meant that everyone died. And eventually, of course, it is better to prevent Baron than to let them have Baron, but purely gold based, I'm not sure that that's such a good idea. Obviously the Baron buff is really strong, but yeah, well, this is now going to happen. Wow, so many deaths. Was that everyone? No, Vayne actually survived. So Vayne is actually still alive and is coming up now. Oh, she died really late, yeah, right. Going for death cap. Apparently doesn't want to stay alive, doesn't care about staying alive. Otherwise he would have gone for something else. Yeah, that's not going to work, but nice try. It's kind of... yeah, the mana, he immediately got the mana back, and yeah. The cooldown will take a while, obviously. It will take about 2.5 minutes, I think. But it's not too big of a deal. There's not going to be a team fight right after this one. So the enemy is just going to the enemies are going to heal up, and eventually they will be back. But by that time, the ultimate will probably be up again. This is not team fighting 24/7. They're just trying to trying to find the best positioning for things, and apparently they are going for Baron here. And with the wards going down, is there no CV on this team, or did they already use it? Yeah, you can steal Baron with the Karthus Q and the Sona Q, but it is highly unlikely that that will work because, well, the enemy team has smite and they are near enough to smite. So far a 1-for-1 trades, and yeah, Karthus didn't have his ultimate up. Had he waited until this moment, it would have been better. And yeah, they might still get all of the kills. Yeah, that's the last one. There you go. And Baron is now open for them. That was nicely done. It was really greedy on the opponent's part because they knew that the whole enemy team would group up on them. And as soon as you start Baron, you take a lot of damage. And yeah, well, you normally don't do it when the whole enemy team is still up. Obviously, it is going to be hard for them to kill Baron because their jungler isn't there. And it is, yeah, it's not very risky unless the enemy actually gets up there. Yeah, there we go. Rammus being really close, and Rammus has a smite. Oh, yeah, they are going to... oh, Rammus dies. That's okay then. So they get a 1-for-1 trade, and they do get Baron. It is nice to see that they stop Baron. A lot of teams will just continue to attack Baron. No, you need to just focus down the enemy champion that's coming in to steal before he can actually steal it. Because if you continue, yeah, the Rammus would have done a great deal of damage and would have stolen Baron because he has a smite. And well, the purple team did not have a smite because Karthus was still on his way to the Baron. So all in all, it was a good fight. They got 6 kills, the enemy got something like 3 kills. And they got Baron out of it. And wow, this Warwick seems to have a really huge amount of HP. Cannot really see the separate lines, but it seems he has quite a huge amount of HP. Nivea picking up all of those minions, and apparently they do have CV because someone is calling for CV. Oh yeah, I noticed that in the beginning. Wow. Alistar's and Sona have CV, I think. So going for Dragon then, because well, they have Baron buff, so yeah, they get a free Dragon. And you can see how quickly the Dragon goes down here. The Baron took quite a while, but Dragon goes down in, well, like 3 seconds. And because of that, if you know the exact spawn time, wow, those walls, man. If you know the exact spawn times of the dragon, then you're going to have a big advantage over your opponents, because you can actually kill it before they can react to the fact that it spawned. And the only way to prevent that for the enemy is to have wards out, to be at the dragon well before it spawns, because since you don't know when it spawns, you have to make sure that you can actually or are actually there when it spawns, because otherwise the enemy is going to take it down before you can react to it. And another nice wall from Anivia, doing some nice damage to Rammus there. And yeah, Rammus cannot really engage at this moment because he is too low. He's not incredibly low, but he is too low to actually engage into 5 enemies. And they get a turret out of that, just because they harassed Rammus. And that was because of the great wall from Anivia. Of course, with 2 of the walls, with Anivia and Karthus both having a wall, it is pretty easy to get these these harassments off, because there is no way that the enemy can pass through this whole entire area without getting either blocked off or slowed. And if you're blocked off, yeah, you cannot do anything about it, at least with the slow, which also reduces armor and magic resist, or at least magic resist. Not sure about the armor. Yeah, it makes it a whole lot more difficult for you to engage in that fight then. But you can choose to walk through the wall, whereas with the Anivia wall you cannot. So in that sense, the Anivia wall is stronger. On the other hand, you can block your own teammates with the Anivia wall, and with the Karthus wall you cannot do that. So that makes the Karthus wall a lot better to have. Obviously the Karthus wall is there to make sure that Karthus can actually land his Qs and to make the Qs do more damage. That's why I think it's only magic resist that it reduces, but well, it doesn't matter too much. It is a great tool to have on your team. It is good utility. Gives you a nice amount of crowd control, especially in team fights, and it also works against Dragon and Baron. And of course, well, the various creatures in the jungle. But all in all, this is going to be a hard fight for the enemy to fight now, because of the walls. And yeah, as you can see, they just take a whole lot of damage without being able to do any damage themselves because of the slow from the Karthus wall. And of course Anivia with her abilities can spam them pretty much, because well, she has blue buff. There goes the Karthus wall once again, and everyone now at low magic resists, and they are going to pay for that. There you go, getting I think 4 kills total, maybe even 5. Let's see. Come on, pull up the screen. Hit tab. I think it's 4 for 1. Yeah, 4 for 1. It seems there's still 1 player left. And they get a turret somewhere. I think top lane. Oh no, top lane is now destroying. So that was mid lane. And they get the bottom turret as well. So 3 turrets and yeah, another inhibitor. And once Karthus comes back up, he's going to race back into the middle probably, and going to try to help out his teammates, pushing this this 2 lane, well, 2 inhibitors down, pushing those 2 lanes. Oh, they are going for Baron. Okay. Oh, what are you doing, Gangplank? What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah, apparently the enemy assumed they were there, and wow, the wall going down and immediately melting the Caitlyn. Wow, and Alistar just dropping just as quickly. Although many people will say that Alistar is very tanky, it is definitely not true in this case. So Sona putting out the wards to make sure that they have a little more vision. And there you go, another Baron. And they might as well go for Dragon as well. Because, yeah, they're not going to, but Dragon takes like 5 seconds to do and gives them another 200 gold each. And that is a big deal, especially for the support and such. So one inhibitor is back up, it seems. Yes, it is. And one inhibitor is still down. Don't even know. Yeah, I'm assuming they got the middle inhibitor the first time. Yeah. Pretty sure they did. Anyhow, blue buff now going to Anivia. And yeah, they're just going to push mid lane with their Baron buff and are going to win this right here, right now. It's 25 to 20, I think, in kills, and Karthus is a nice 6 and 5, it seems, with 13 assists. So even though Karthus dies virtually every team fight, they do get multiple kills out of each of his deaths, and that makes him very useful to the team. Because he is more of a support champion anyway. A support champion that does a lot of damage, but yeah, that's not really there for the huge amount of kills that he can get. I mean, sometimes he does get a big amount of kills, but it's just not his overall strategy. His overall strategy is more of a simpler one. Basically, gets the wall off on as many enemies as possible. Get as many Qs to land as possible, and further die in the midst of everything, and well, do your ultimate. And as you can see, that works out pretty well. So he did pick up 2 kills there, and obviously once you have a lot of HP, you also get a lot of once you have a lot of AP, you get a lot of damage, and with a lot of damage you get a lot of kills. So 29 to 20 now, with cards being 8 and 5. So that pretty much concludes this game. They are going to kill the Nexus. Oh, they're going to surrender. Okay, that's good too. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. GG.